My friends, observe the invisible machinery that hums beneath the surface of the visible world. It is not the destination that determines the journey, but the vessel in which you travel. We have been conditioned by a mediocre society to worship the endpoint, to fix our eyes solely upon the golden summit, believing that the mere desire to reach it constitutes a plan. But I tell you now, the goal is a deception of the mind, a fleeting vapor that promises happiness only in the future, while robbing you of power in the present. You look around and see the titan of industry, the master artist, the creator of empires, and you say, he had a great goal. You are mistaken. The beggar on the street and the millionaire in the mansion often share the exact same goal. They both desire wealth. If the goal were the deciding factor, both would possess the fortune. Therefore, it cannot be the wish that separates the failure from the success. It is the mechanism they employ to transmute that wish into physical reality. We are here to discuss a law of the universe that is as cold and exacting as gravity. Nature does not operate on goals. The oak tree does not set a goal to grow 60 feet high. It follows a genetic system of daily absorption and expansion. The planets do not set a goal to orbit the sun. They surrender to the gravitational system that governs their motion. When you rely on a goal, you are relying on willpower, a resource as exhaustible as a muscle. When you build a system, you align yourself with the rhythmic habit force of the universe, creating a momentum that makes failure nearly impossible. The man who sets a goal is fighting against himself, forever waiting for permission to be satisfied. The man who builds a system has already won the moment he engages the gears of his process. But to shift from the chaotic yearning of a goal to the mathematical certainty of a system requires a fundamental alteration of your consciousness. It requires you to destroy the very idea of finishing. Most of you are holding a map, looking for a treasure, but you have neglected to build the ship that can cross the ocean. There is a specific mental blueprint, a psychological switch that must be flipped to turn your desires into an automated machine, a method so potent that the result becomes a mere byproduct of your daily ritual. And this blueprint begins with a terrifying realization.
Separately.
The terrifying realization is this: you are not suffering from a lack of systems. You are suffering because your current system is designed perfectly for the results you are currently getting. If you are struggling financially, it is not because fortune has frowned upon you. It is because you have unconsciously built a flawless, repetitive mechanism that produces poverty. If you are lethargic and weak, you have perfected a system of inaction. The universe is a mirror, not a judge. It does not care about your hopes. It only respects your rituals. We must understand that we do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. A goal is a brief spark of inspiration, a moment of wishing. But a system is the engine that runs 24 hours a day, fueled by the oil of habit. When the initial burst of motivation fades, and it always fades, just as the sun must set, what remains? Only your system. If that system relies on you feeling like it, you are doomed to the oscillating drift of mediocrity. You must construct a scaffolding around your life that compels you to act even when your spirit is weary. Consider the builder of a great cathedral. He does not wake up every morning and stare at the empty sky, dreaming of the spire. He focuses his entire being on laying one brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. He creates a system of masonry, a protocol of mixing mortar, a discipline of measurement. The cathedral is not the focus. The process is the focus. If he tends to the system of the brick, the cathedral is inevitable. It appears as if by magic, but it is actually the compound interest of a system in motion. To install this machinery in your own mind, you must stop being a goal setter and start being a problem solver of your own behaviors. You must identify the friction points in your day where your energy leaks out and plug them with automated responses. You must treat your daily routine not as a chore, but as a sacred formula. However, as you attempt to dismantle your old rusty habits and replace them with this sleek new machinery of success, you will encounter a resistance so subtle and so cunning that most men never even realize it is fighting them until it is too late. This resistance acts like a silent governor on an engine, a hidden thermostat that strictly regulates the temperature of your achievements. It is the primitive protective mechanism of your own subconscious mind which views all change, even positive change, as a threat to your survival. When you attempt to impose a new system, you are essentially declaring war on your old self, and that old self, entrenched in the comfort of familiar failure, will not go quietly into the night. It will generate fatigue where there is no physical cause. It will manufacture doubts that masquerade as logic. It will whisper alibis into your ear, seducing you to skip just one day, to make just one exception. The amateur listens to these whispers. He thinks he needs more motivation. But the master understands that motivation is fickle. He relies instead on the cold, hard steel of his system to crush the rebellion of his lower self. A system eliminates the most exhausting activity known to the human mind, the act of decision-making. Every time you have to decide whether to work or rest, whether to save or spend, you burn vital nervous energy. If you must debate with yourself every morning, you have already lost. True power comes when the decision is made once and for all, and the system takes over the burden of execution. You do not negotiate with gravity, you simply adjust to it. Likewise, you must cease negotiating with your own habits. You must reach a state of definiteness of purpose where the action happens automatically, bypassing the hesitant, fearful part of the brain. When the system is sovereign, you do not need willpower. Do you need willpower to brush your teeth? No. It is a system so deeply ingrained it requires zero emotional effort. Imagine if your pursuit of wealth, your cultivation of health, and your mastery of craft were as automatic, as devoid of emotional friction as brushing your teeth. That is the promised land. That is where the heavy lifting is done by the habit force, leaving your conscious mind free to create and conquer. But to reach this state of automaticity, to reprogram the thermostat that keeps pulling you back to poverty and mediocrity, you must employ a method of self-suggestion that goes beyond mere affirmation. You must introduce a shock to your nervous system, a catalyst that hardens the liquid concrete of your intentions into rock before the old habits can return to solidify this new order. You must recognize that a system cannot exist in a vacuum. The shock your nervous system requires is the deliberate destruction of your escape routes. You must engineer your environment so that the execution of your system becomes easier than its neglect. The river does not flow to the ocean because it tries to. It flows because the banks guide it, and gravity compels it. You must build the banks of your life so high and so strong that your energy has nowhere to go but forward. If you wish to amass a fortune, do not rely on the fragile hope that you will save what remains at the end of the month. Create a system that removes the capital before you ever see it, forcing you to live on what is left. If you wish to master a skill, do not hope you will find the time alter your physical environment so that the tools of your craft are the first things you touch upon waking, and the distractions of the world are locked away in the darkness. You must create a forcing function, a condition, where it is actually more painful and difficult to break the habit than it is to keep it. Nature creates diamonds through pressure, not through ease. Your system must apply a constructive pressure to your daily existence. You must make the failure to execute your system socially, financially, or emotionally expensive. When you leave yourself a way out, the subconscious mind, which is lazy by nature, will always find that exit. But when the bridges are burned, when there is no retreat, the mind stops panicking and starts producing solutions. It settles into the groove of the system with a calm, terrifying focus. This is the difference between the dreamer and the doer. The dreamer waits for the wind to blow in the right direction. The doer builds a motor that propels the ship regardless of the wind. However, even the most perfect mechanical engine, designed with the precision of a watchmaker and the sturdiness of a tank, will eventually rust and seize up if it lacks the proper fuel. You can have the perfect schedule, the perfect environment, and the perfect triggers, yet still find yourself grinding to a halt after a few months. Why? Because a system is merely a skeleton. It requires a specific volatile spiritual essence to animate it, a secret ingredient that transforms a cold routine into a burning obsession. The secret ingredient, my friends, is the ability to fall in love with the plateau. The amateur craves the adrenaline of the victory, the applause of the crowd, the high of the finish line. But the master finds a profound spiritual satisfaction in the mundane repetition of the system itself. He learns to love the grinding of the gears. He understands that the fuel is not external excitement, but internal faith, a blind, unwavering knowledge that if the system is honored, the result is merely a matter of time. You must transmute your desire from a longing for the future into a passion for the present protocol. You must look at your daily routine not as a cage that restricts your freedom, but as the very wings that allow you to fly above the common struggle of mankind. When you can look at a boring, difficult Tuesday afternoon and execute your system with the same enthusiasm as if you were receiving a trophy, you have cracked the code. You have aligned yourself with the cosmic habit force that keeps the stars in the sky and the tides in the ocean. At that moment, the goal becomes irrelevant because you have become the type of person for whom success is natural. You do not need to chase success any more than a magnet needs to chase iron filings. You simply are the magnet. Your system has changed your frequency. You are no longer a beggar hoping for a scrap of fortune. You are an architect who has laid a foundation so deep that the skyscraper is inevitable. The world is full of people waiting for a miracle. They are waiting for the right time, the right economy, the right feeling. Do not be one of them. Do not wait for the fire to descend from the heavens. Build the fireplace, stack the wood, and strike the match yourself through the mechanical action of your system. The miracle is not the finish line. The miracle is the day you stop negotiating with yourself and become a machine of destiny. I challenge you to leave this place and do something terrifying. Burn your list of goals. Stand in the ashes of your wishes and construct a single, unbreakable rule for your tomorrow. Do not promise the world you will be great. Simply build the machine that makes your greatness unavoidable. The time for dreaming is over. The time for engineering has begun.